Well, the University of Buffalo will host its first Black Multiple Sclerosis Summit this Saturday.
It's called Keys to Living Your Best with MS. Right now, we are joined by Penny Pennington, Program Director of UB's MS Center for the Treatment and Research. Penny, thank you so much for coming in this afternoon.
And thank you. This is really an important program for our community. So MS, or multiple sclerosis, is an often disabling disease of the central nervous system. The symptoms can be quite unpredictable. They can range from simply having tingling to cognitive effects, memory loss, visual problems. There has been significant progress made in the last 30 years, and in particular as a result of the research we had here in Buffalo with Dr. Lawrence Jacobs. What we see, unfortunately, are disparities in the health status with African Americans. As a result of this, about 3 years ago, our clinical director, Dr. Bianca Weinstock-Gutman, asked me to work on developing an MS health equity program. So one of the things that we have been emphasizing is disease awareness. Why? I have unfortunately met a number of our Black MS patients that are in wheelchairs, and they have described situations where they were referred from doctor to doctor to doctor, complaining of symptoms that were not recognized as MS. Instead, they might be, a question, are you using drugs?
Sure.
Their diagnosis has been very much delayed.
I want to stop you there because I want to ask about some of those symptoms, because I can see how that would happen. We hear about that systemic treatment of people of color by our medical system all the time. So sadly, that is not all that surprising. But I'm wondering what some of those symptoms might have been, because there might be people watching this at home thinking, I went to my doctor for that and he or she said this. So maybe they need to be aware.
And I want to address that, but well, let me go ahead and address that now, and I'll give you some reasons why. So the symptoms can range from burning and tingling. There can be this funny, weird tightness around the abdomen. There can be a funny sensation when you bend your neck. There can be visual changes. And to help you understand what these symptoms are all about, MS is a disease where your body's immune cells starts to attack the covering of your brain and spinal cord. And then it sets up an inflammation, and wherever that's occurring, that is disrupting the signal. So your brain is just, acting strange about it, and that causes the symptoms. But I want to get back to what's happening with Blacks. Physicians have been taught that MS is a disease that's affecting predominantly individuals of Northern European descent. So it's not as if Blacks were intentionally, not properly evaluated. That's what the training is, which is why we are spending a lot of time increasing awareness. Do you know what the #1 prevalence is in? Black women. Of everybody, Black women have the highest prevalence. So we have been spending the last year and a half, 2 years, educating physicians, particularly in the communities that the East Side, a lot of work with the East Side, but all throughout the suburbs and the city as well. And then group by group, we've been holding education programs for patients. And part of this education is a sense of empowerment. I have been living with MS myself. I was diagnosed in 1977. It's very easy to start to feel sad, sorry for yourself. But there's phenomenal data on the benefits of exercise, what it does, rewiring your brain health, what we eat, an anti-inflammatory diet. So one of the things that I did with this program, I assembled a group of our Black patients, Black MS patients, the Community Advisory Committee, and they've basically been bossing me around the last 2 months. I was going to use the UB caterer. They said no. Black-owned business. So we have Sunshine Vegan Eats, and we have the community well represented in every way. This is definitely the best program that I have ever developed. Pastor George Nicholas is going to be there to open up.
Well, before we get into too many of the details, because I feel like people are going to get lost.
Okay.
Let's talk about the logistics. If people want to sign up,
yes,
where do they go? And then if they are registered and if they want to show up, where do they go and what time?
Okay, so the program's being held at the UB School of Medicine, the Jacobs School of Medicine, which is at 955 Main Street. It sits on the corner of High Street and Main, and the entrance is on Main Street. We need to have you registered, and we have free valet parking. So we have a grant that's going to cover free, just drive up, but we need to know to account for the food and everything else. And once you come in, you're going to be receiving a registration packet. You're going to have a lot of take home. I have an MS cookbook everyone's going to get, a lot of information on what to do with exercising. And this is about networking. So we have the MS Society Walk coming up on May the 11th. Meet people, set up your teams. This is going to be not like a downer learning the medicine. This is going to be a very uplifting program.
And you mentioned that walk. I know Channel 4 is a longtime sponsor.
Jackie Walker.
Jackie Walker, very, very involved. So you'll be very busy. Thank you so much for doing this summit.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Penny. Chief Meteorologist Todd Santos keeping an eye. And Todd, we've got pretty much wide open sunshine from the north to the